So today we're looking at functions, right? The functions are to do with like input and output, and that's basically what we're looking at. And we'll use a real world example to start with, something that we can kind of relate to. And if our input is, for example, ingredients, then we know that the ingredients, this was to do with something to do with cooking, then the ingredients will be used by a chef, and the chef would then turn those ingredients into something, right? So we start with the input, which is the ingredients. Those ingredients are then given to the chef. The chef has the function of using those ingredients, yeah? So chef has the function of using the ingredients and turning that into something, right? We have our input ingredients. The function, which is like a set of instructions, is what's given to the chef, or the chef has produced to use the ingredients, which are the input, and he produces the output, which is the meal, right? Those are the key things: the input and the output, and the function. The input is usually fixed. The function is usually given, which is a set of instructions. The output is then dependent on the function and on the input, which is the ingredients in this case. Yeah. In short, functions are just instructions, and a function carries out a set of instructions, and those instructions again dependent on the input. So each part of this process is dependent on the previous part. The function is dependent on the input, and the output is dependent on the function. Okay, that's sort of our real world example. Now if we look at something more numerical, then we have our input, and the input is, say, the number 2, and our function then uses that number 2 and, let's say, multiplies it by 5. Okay, then our end result, our output, is going to be 10 for that, right? So if the input is 2, the function then multiplies the input by 5, then our output is 2. Well, if our input is 3, for another instance, then the function then uses that 3, multiplies it by 5, and our output is 15. Okay, that's kind of our numerical example. But if we're then looking at this in more detail, we have to use our mathematical keywords, and the mathematical keywords, the keyword for input is actually domain. That is something you will have to remember if we're looking to be able to access the more advanced functions type of question. And the domain is usually numbers attached to the letter x. The function is then f, and that function uses the input values, which are given by the letter x, and then the output is whatever fx equals, f brackets x, whatever that equals, that will then be the output, which is also known as the range. So the input is known as the domain, the function is the function, and the output is the range.